Okay, so yesterday we talked about the trig ratios. We talked about Chief SOHCAHTOA. There's an acronym that you need to remember in order to set up these problems. So the first trig function, the S, stands for what? Sine. Okay, what's the ratio for sine? Opposite over hypotenuse. O over H. Opposite over hypotenuse. You might want to write this down if you still have not memorized it. C is for cosine. What is that ratio? What parts are compared on that ratio? A for what? Adjacent. Hypotenuse. H for hypotenuse. And then the last one is T for tangent. O over A. TOA. So opposite over adjacent. So on this first section, because we're going to get into some practice, you're just giving me the ratio based on the angle that they give you. So number one, it says sine of A. So you have to look at angle A. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So who is opposite angle A? 7. And who's the hypotenuse? So you're going to write 7 over 25. Yeah. So we're going to give the fraction answer, and you're going to give the decimal answer. So on the calculator, if you do 7, I need menu. So 1. If you do 7 divided by 25, I know it gives you the fraction. It reduces the fraction for you. That is the reduced fraction. You hit control and then enter, and it gives you the decimal. All right, so this is also 0.28. All right, now we're going to do the cosine of B. So I start at angle B. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Yeah, again, it's 7 over 25. You can have the same ratio with a different trig function. So we already know that decimal. That decimal is 0.28. Now we're going to do tangent of B. Starting at B, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So what part is opposite the angle B? 24. What number is adjacent to it? So this would be 24 over 7. Then we want the decimal equivalency. All right. Now they ask us to round to the nearest hundredths. How many decimal places is that? 2.
So it'll be 3.43.
Yeah, so 3.43. 2 decimal places. All right, you are responsible right now, and we're going to check. Get your score sheets out because we're going to add points. You're going to do 4 through 6. 4 through 6. Control enter. Thank you. If I want to use the calculator, I'm going to hit trig, press the sign, not send, and then 64, and hit enter. And we're rounding that answer to the nearest hundred. The same decimal point places. What is this one going to be? 0.90. So do the cosine of 58 and tangent. Do you see how I'm showing you how to do one, and then I'm asking you to do the next two? So it's important that you pay attention, please, okay? Especially understand how to do the calculator. That should not be a reason why you get a problem wrong. So we circle the angle, then we label the parts in relationship to the angle. They want us to find XZ. So XZ is who we're trying to find. So that's one of the parts I need. That's unknown. So I look. The 12.2 is opposite the angle. The X is adjacent to the angle. So I have to label opposite and adjacent. Label the parts that they give you. I don't need the hypotenuse because I'm not trying to find the hypotenuse. So I don't label that. Okay, so on our trig function, what trig function deals with an opposite and adjacent? Tangent does. Remember SOHCAHTOA? So if I'm looking at O and A, that has to be the tangent. So this is what you have to write. So please do this. You write tangent, then the angle, 41, equals, now you do the ratio, opposite over adjacent. Opposite is the 12.2 over the adjacent, which is the x. I have to see the equation or the ratio or the function. They're all the same. Now, x is on the bottom. We're going to divide. Now, all I have to do is I'm going to switch these two around. And I'm going to write x would equal the 12.2 divided by the tangent of 41. When x is on the bottom, you divide. When x is on top, what are you going to have to do? Multiply. You have to write this so you can determine what operation you're going to use. Based on the parts. This was opposite and adjacent, so that had to be tangent. So, on my calculator, you're going to do 12.2 divided by, then hit trig to get to the tangent of 41. And you're going to hit enter. Now, I believe it's to the nearest hundreds again, so we're rounding our answer to 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places. Yeah, 14.03. That would be x. That's who we're trying to find. All right, I know I kind of ran over, but like on number 17, we're trying to find hi, so that's where I put the x, because it says find hi. Okay? That's where the x will go. All right, what's the first thing we have to do now? Circle your angle. Okay, circle your degree. Champ, you're not paying attention. Now what do we do after you circle the degree? Label it. Okay, so what parts do I have? Adjacent. Adjacent. Who's adjacent? X is adjacent. No, X is not always adjacent. It depends on where it's at. Adjacent means it's next to the angle. Alright, now I gotta label another part. What's the 100? So label that hypotenuse. So then you look which trig function deals with an adjacent and a hypotenuse. The C, right here, cosine. Because it has an A and an H. That's right next to each other. So now you're gonna write cosine of the angle, which is 55, equals, now you write your ratio, adjacent over hypotenuse. What would I write? X over 100. All right, yes, x is on top, so we multiply. Let me show you what it looks like. Yeah. So this would be 100 times the cosine of 55. Notice that I always put the number first, not the trig. Okay? So this is 100 times the cosine of 55. That's what you put in your calculator. Oops. Yeah, 57.36. Okay? What? Sorry, Zach. Why am I using cosine? Anyone can explain? Because they didn't. It has an adjacent and it has a hypotenuse. It has an A and an H. There's the A and the H. That has to be cosine. Go ahead, champion. Oh, the X part, no, because it's like, it goes from like the formula, like. Yeah, it goes based on the formula. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. What part is the adjacent part? 55. No, what part is the adjacent? The X is the adjacent part. All right. All right, so who are we trying to find on 18? KM. So that's where the X is going to go. Now, what are we going to do first? Circle the angle. Okay, everything you label is a relationship to the angle. Cameron, you might want to try to do this while I'm doing it, not after. All right, so what will I label in relationship to the angle? Point 0.8 is the hypotenuse. Okay, so there's my hypotenuse. Yes, x is opposite. That's right. Yeah, so it's going to be sine. Which one has an O and an H? That's the sine. So we write the sine of 27 equals in the ratio opposite over hypotenuse. What is the opposite part? That's the x over point 0.8. Yes, x is on top, so that means to multiply. So x would be 0.8 times the sine of 27. Yeah, 0.36. Wow, 0.36. What are you talking about the x? What x are you referring to? No, we don't have short legs anymore.